Python T-strings are coming to 3.14. I have a lightning talk at PyCon on Friday. I need to rehearse, and here you are. Thank you for your service. We're going to take a look at how Python T-strings and tooling can help the developer experience for templating. First, what are T-strings? They are template strings from PEP 750. Hey, look at that guy. And if your first thought is, great, another standard, hey, we get you. But what I want to talk about here and what I'm going to give in my lightning talk is to talk about a good tooling experience and how this is a step forward for our developer experience. Front ends like React, you understand what this is like for component-driven development. I can start typing, it can find a component, I can tab and it will generate an import. It knows the prompts, and if I leave stuff out, it yells at me and tells me this was required, and if I put in a value that is invalid, it will squiggle me and tell me what the problem is. This is all really helpful because the templating language is closer to the host language. For example, we don't have to write our own for loop. JavaScript already has one. Let's put one inside the curly braces. If you thought this was React, joke's on you. This is 11e with an alternate JSX implementation, which just goes to show what you can get when you have a big ecosystem based on standards. Which brings me to my topic of the lightning talk. Tooling and a rich ecosystem in the JavaScript front end. They have Prettier for formatting all kinds of languages, JavaScript, CSS, HTML, Markdown. And there's a system called Vite with all kinds of plugins that can do very interesting things on top of the pipeline of production. For example, things like making relative URLs and responsive images. Wouldn't it be great if the world of Python had a rich ecosystem of tooling for a modern developer experience? Wouldn't it be great if we got that level of tooling in the world of Python so that we could do formatting, not just in markup, but also in our programming language? Same for type checkers, and even beyond, if we could do something like a refactoring in a smart IDE that could extract a component and put it in a new file. Let's take a look at tooling in a smart editor / IDE. I'm using a nightly build of PyCharm. They were able to give me T-string support really fast because it's just like F-strings. So, for example, you would expect this to work, and that works. And why does it work? Well, I can do things like autocomplete. I can do things like squiggle on a bad var name. I can do further things. For example, if I come down here on this template, I can maybe see what the type inference is. I'm going to, first, I'm going to add a T, and I'll see when I mouse over that this is a template type. If this was F, that would be a string type, but it's not, it's a T. I have IDE conveniences such as converting from an F string to a T string. I have other IDE convenience like navigation to go to that symbol. We know it's a symbol, so we can go to it. We can go back to it. We can refactor, rename it into my name, for example, and then undo to put it back the way that it was. What more can tooling do for us? We can, for example, auto import a template function. And I'm going to write this one a little bit from scratch. I'm going to say template3 equals. I'm going to have a template function called lower under upper, and I'm going to go ahead and have it auto imported for me. You see it up there. And then I'm going to give it a T string, and I'm going to say, sure, make it hello name. When I'm going through this, I can have more tooling support. So for example, I'm going to debug this. And I want to step into the execution of that. It goes over into my function, and I can, walk through it and see, well, hey, the first thing through is a string. The second thing is an interpolation. And we see these various parts get appended, and the business rules apply on the way out the door. We can do a little bit more. For example, an HTML library based on T-strings. and we can get language injection. So for example, in this HTML function, I'm going to pass it a T string, and I'm going to say div, and now I've got HTML support because my IDE knows in T strings if there's a regex that looks like a blob of HTML, I'm going to turn this into HTML plus F string T string. And I can go into it and do the same thing. Hello name, etc. And all of the things you would expect from F strings will work just fine in here. For example, I have a local build that includes rough formatting. And I'll do this and I'll say run rough. And it puts it to a triple string. And it removed that extra space and it went inside the T string F string and cleaned that up. This TDOM library also has some other things it can do that gets into a more JSX-like experience. So for example, the concept of, I'm going to put element back, the concept of components, a tag looking thing that can be passed props. And I get all kinds of assistance. I get assistance like that. In fact, if I removed, if that was in another place, it would, another file would have automatically done the import for me. And then these are prompts. And so I can, for example, say name, and it knows that name is there. I can prove that it's not making this up by saying something else. Hey, look, X name. And then I can pass it a value like, but if I passed it a value like this, then it would yell at me because the type is wrong. But if I went up here and fixed it, then the type would be correct and it would be happy. As I go through all this, let me put this back so it looks a little bit more normal. As I run through all of this, again, it's tooling, so I get a nice debugger. Let's run this under the debugger, and I will stop on the execution point down there. You'll see that result 2 is an element. It isn't a string. I haven't asked for the string representation of it yet. If I said str of result 2 right here, then it would run the dunder str and give me a string representation of this. Until then, I have something that has some interesting node-like capabilities to it, such as props and children and all these other kinds of things. Hey, if you're coming to PyCon US this week, please take a look at what we're trying to do for T-strings. We got some lightning talks going on. Dave Peck's going to do a lightning talk. I'm going to do one. Fabio's going to do one with a killer demo on all of this stuff running in the browser in PyScript. Dave and I are giving a talk in FlaskCon. We hope to do an open space maybe on Saturday or something like that, sprinting, at least on Monday. And I'll be in the PyCharm booth. If you want to see a demo or give me your ideas, please drop by. If you see any of us, just chat. We really want to build a little community about this, and any ideas that you have, share them with us. Jump in. Let's get started. Let's do something fun.